Hey y'all. Oh wow, you can see that caption there where I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make myself some coffee." So I'm at home today, and I was thinking of like I live in Portland. I was thinking of having a little mug over here and making some pour over while we talked, and I am deciding not to do that so that I can start the live stream on time. But hello, and today I want to talk about Reddit. So a few times now, I've talked about the idea of content systems, and that's what we're kind of all about at Hercule. That's what we're thinking about is like, how do marketers find the right things to write about? How do they build that into a system where they have high velocity, high performance, good analytics, they can demonstrate, show the value of what they're doing? How does that all work? What are all the pieces of that? And when I think about content systems, fundamentally, one of the major jobs of a content system is simply to answer questions. I mean, I put this way on a call this week with the rest of the folks at Hercule, and I said, if you really want to reduce everything that we're doing, it's kind of just about answering questions. It's about finding the questions that people have and giving them information. That's kind of what content marketing boils down to. It's kind of what organic growth boils down to in some ways. I mean, there are other channels that organic growth takes place on, of course, but if you want to scale it, it's about answering people's questions and having a system for finding those questions and being able to get the context out there and put the words together and do all that stuff. So I just want to level set there. We're talking about answering questions. And part of the success of your content system is determined by your ability to find those questions, to answer them, then find the right questions, to answer them in a timely manner, and to answer them in a way that connects to your product. Now, hopefully the connection to your product actually happens earlier when you're picking topics that are already relevant to your product. But that's a part of what determines the success of your content system. And I know we talk a lot about writing blogs and white papers and all these big things, but you can answer questions in all kinds of different ways. You can have a hotline if you want. I mean, a lot of companies don't do that, but that'd be kind of cool. You can have a hotline. You can you have a website. You have LLMs answer the questions for you. You can do a bunch of stuff like that. One of the best sources for questions is Reddit. So I want to show you a couple of posts real quick. Actually, we'll come back to that in a second. I'm going to show you a Reddit page first. So this is what I'm talking about. Let's share my screen. Let's go here. And here's an example. And I got to remember to take this extra step of finding my StreamYard thing here. And then I have to add this to the stage. Otherwise, you will never be able to see it. And I will talk about this for hours without you seeing anything. It's like a weird extra step I have taken in the interface. Okay, so is traditional modeling, data modeling dead? This question is a little old from a couple of years ago, but I wanted to pull this one up because this is a great example of the types of questions that people have. And these are all over Reddit. And so if your product touches on data modeling, especially if it's a new type of data modeling or something new related to that, or you want to reach that persona, this might be a really great question for you to answer. This is not so different from, when we've talked about looking on Google and searching for a topic on Google and seeing, all the questions that are there, right? That Google shows you under things to know or under people also ask or whatever it is. So this is another source of questions, but Reddit has been sort of underrated, I think, as a source of these questions. And I want to show you a couple of other things as well. So this is a post from our friend Hashim Warren. And he has this great post about doing an SEO experiment with Reddit and posting dev tool industry news there. He has a newsletter called Hypeburner. You should sign up for it. But like what's going on there. And this kind of shows a lot of the value of just posting to Reddit and Reddit in general too, which is great channel to be looking at, but also Reddit turns out to be important for visibility in LLMs. So Hashim talks about being there and getting exposure that way and using that. And by the way, if you write something for Reddit, of course, you can repurpose it for other channels and all that stuff, which is great. And then there's this other post from Josh at Profound, where he talks about citations. And so whenever you have an LLM, a search in an LLM, it's going to sometimes cite your sources, and when it's sources in an answer, and oftentimes it's going to cite Reddit. And so what Josh has here, if I can figure out how to scroll down, is like percentage of Chat GPT citations that are going to Reddit, right? And we all know we've seen them in search and stuff like that. So Reddit is a really good source of questions to know what to answer. You can post things on your blog. It's a really good place to just be engaged in general, be aware of what's going on there. And then also, it's a good place to engage and distribute, and we'll maybe touch on that a little bit today, but mostly what I want to talk about is understanding Reddit as a source. Okay, so here is a workflow that I want to show you, which does a lot of that work of finding questions, including on Reddit. It's a little bit of a dreadnought, this one. So let's show it to you, and just so you understand how it works. So what we usually start with, actually, I'm gonna show you a different tab first. Let's do this one. What we usually start with is some topics. And you can go in, N8N is really nice. If you haven't seen me talk about N8N before, it's a workflow builder tool. It's very efficient to run, relatively inexpensive, does require some technical knowledge, but we use it all the time. And so what we can do with this is feed in a set of topics. And so that's what we're actually doing here in this spreadsheet. We actually have our topics in a spreadsheet. And this is an example of what that output might look like from getting that from the spreadsheet. Brand management. So that's one. And then what we're doing here is we have all of these sources for questions. So I'm talking about Reddit today, but a lot of the things that I'm going to tell you apply to other channels as well. Other places where people ask questions about your topic, maybe even about your product. That's a whole nother screencast, is how do you answer branded questions? Let's talk about that at some point, maybe not right now. But what this workflow is doing is going through and grabbing these topics and then going through and starting to look for questions for us. So here is a step in here. It's called Get Desktop SERP Results in Google. And so this is kind of looking for your SERPs in Google. And that's fine for a topic, right? Like we might want to know what the top ranking things here are. And then if I go down here, you can see some other pieces here. And here's another one, which is specifically looking on Reddit. Now here's a little like hashtag life hack. You can use Google to search Reddit. It's actually really helpful. So just search for the most relevant stuff on Reddit using Google. Don't use Reddit search. Or you can, but anyway. So we're getting the SERP from Reddit. We're splitting it up here. Then we're executing another workflow, which I'll talk about in a minute. We're kind of aggregating it here. Lots and lots of little steps. And then we have our Reddit FAQ generator. And what this is doing is going through these pages, and we're issuing an instruction to an LLM. We're saying, please extract a list of human readable questions from this data. Some Reddit questions will show up like this, where they are an actual question. But some Reddit questions will show up as somebody posted a thread about a thing. And when they posted the thread about the thing, they implied a question, they had a question within what they were talking about or whatever it is. So that's, just get my tabs fixed here. This is really the kind of heart of the workflow, is we scrape those questions, we answer them, and then we do a bunch of other stuff to kind of put them in a place where we can consume them. But the point is that there's lots and lots of these questions on Reddit, and I think you will often be surprised. Like, it's worth just taking a look. Even for pretty sophisticated topics, there are conversations happening on Reddit that you may want to be a part of. Okay, so next thing to look at is what the output and the input actually look like. So for us, this is an example. I'm going to show you a bunch of different stuff that's going to fit together, but here's what it looks like in practice. Is we've got our topic that we put in here, and then, and actually let me make sure that you can see this. There we go. Yeah, you can see it now. And then these are the questions that we got. And yeah, a good number of them are not going to be that interesting, but there's going to be some really interesting questions here. So if I look at like this PR monitoring one, how can real-time media intelligence improve decision making? How can media monitoring tools support correct? All these like very specific things, and each one of these we are sourcing from somewhere. So you can see at the bottom of the list we've got our Reddit results, and there's some good like, what are your favorite monitoring tools? Great, we should answer that question. What do you want to know about this? Okay, maybe we don't want to answer that one. That's a little too meta for answering ourselves. We can't write an article. It's called "What do you want to know about?" But we could do "What you should know about it." We could do, all kinds of variations on that. So we pull these, we scrape these. Reddit is a fantastic place to look for this stuff. And then I'm going to kind of, we have a refined questions list here. This happens to be empty. And then the next thing that you get a lot of credit for is I'm going to take the prompts. I'm going to take the responses. I'm going to take the prompts, the FAQs, I should say, and I'm going to answer them. I'm going to use an LLM to answer them also. And again, like the value of the LLM is augmenting, it's accelerating. You probably don't want to post any of these things by itself. But here's a bunch of questions and their answers. And you could go back to the Reddit thread and try to post some of these, but you can also take these and put them in your articles. And one of the things that we sometimes have in here is a column that says, here's the right page to put it in on your website. So we went all the way to Reddit, we got those questions, we pulled them programmatically, we generated some answers, and then we're connecting them to the pages that are relevant on the site, and then we're adding them there. So these are things that you can do with an LLM workflow. And I guess, wrapping up here, I have a couple of, I'm going to zoom out again. That's way too close. There we go. Actually, before I wrap up, I'm going to say one more thing, which is one of the things that you should be thinking about too is, where am I cited, right? What, for my industry, for my topics, what is ChatGPT cite? So actually, I'm going to share this tab. Here's what a citation analysis looks like. We're using a tool called Scrunch AI. And you can kind of see, here's what the domains are for specific topics. Oh, here's us. Here's draft.dev, here's LinkedIn, here's SEMrush, here's all the, what you want to do is have a sense too of what are the citations that are, what are the sources that LLMs are using, because that can also be a really good place to scrape questions, but in the absence of that, Reddit. So I think that's pretty much what I want to say is we talked about the importance of Reddit. I strongly suggest that you take a look, even if you think that there isn't stuff on Reddit, just do a search. Type in some topics, type in site reddit.com operator on Google. You probably know about that, but that's what I used. I just did, data engineering site reddit.com, just like that. See if there's anything there. See if there are interesting threads that are getting a lot of engagement. That happens pretty frequently. And then what you can do is build a system. We do it in AI workflow. You can try to do it that way or in a spreadsheet or whatever suits you, for then surfacing those questions and answering them, because so many of those good questions and answers will be on Reddit. And if you can automate it, systematize it, put it into your content system as a routine, then it can be something that you're just kind of doing. And yes, there's work involved, but it becomes part of the system and can help you in lots and lots of ways, and can be your distribution channel too, and can, just lots you can do with it. So that's finding content gold on Reddit, and that's how to a sense of how you build the LLM workflow, or do it in a spreadsheet, start on a spreadsheet and then build the workflow, whatever it is, but that's a sense of how to do it. Here's why it's valuable. Get it into a system, mechanize it, make it routine, make it a thing that, it's a thing that you're doing out of habit, and add that to the your question sources so that you are answering all the questions that your users have and connecting them to your value prop and your product. All right. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. And I will catch you on the next one.